Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jai Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. We're reading from the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 12. We're taking up at text number 213. The chin of the Lord, tinged with buff color, conquered the beauty of the banduli flower. This increased the beauty of his mild smile, which was like lustrous waves of nectar. The luster of his beautiful face increased at every moment, and the eyes of hundreds and thousands of devotees drank its honey like bumblebees. As their eyes began to drink the nectarine honey of his lotus face, their thirst increased. Thus their eyes did not leave him. In the Lagu Bhagavatamrita 1.5.538, Srila Rupa Goswami has described the beauty of the Lord in this way. Asam anordva madhurya tarangamrita varadi jangama stavarolasi rupo gobindra Rupo Gandhendra Nandana. The beauty of the son of Maharaj Nanda is incomparable. Nothing is higher than his beauty, and nothing can equal it. His beauty is like waves in an ocean of nectar. This beauty is attractive both for moving and for non-moving objects. Similarly, in the Tantra Shastra, there is another description of the Lord's beauty. Kandarpakotyarbhuda rupa shobha niraja padhabja nakanchalasya kutrapya drishta shutaramya kanter dhyanam param nanda sutasya bhakshye. I shall relate the supreme meditation upon Lord Sri Krishna, the son of Nanda Maharaj. The tips of the toes of his lotus feet reflect the beauty of the bodies of unlimited millions of cupids, and his bodily luster has never been seen or heard of anywhere. One may also consult Srimad Bhagavatam 10.29.14 in this connection. Thus Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his devotees enjoyed transcendental bliss upon seeing the face of Jagannath. This continued till midday. As usual, there were transcendental blissful symptoms in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's body. He perspired and trembled, and a constant flow of tears fell from his eyes. But the Lord checked these tears so they would not disturb his seeing the face of the Lord. Their looking at the face of Lord Jagannath was interrupted only when he was offered food. Afterwards, they would again look upon his face. When the food was being offered to the Lord, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu performed his kirtan. Feeling such great pleasure upon seeing the face of Lord Jagannath, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu forgot everything. The devotees, however, took him to his lunch at noontime. Knowing that the car festival would take place in the morning, all the servants of Lord Jagannath were doubling their offerings of food. I have briefly described the pastimes of the Lord in washing and cleansing the Gundicha temple. By seeing or hearing these pastimes, even sinful men can awaken their Krishna consciousness. Praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Sri Raghunath, always desiring their mercy, I, Krishnadas, narrate Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, following in their footsteps. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 12, describing the washing and cleansing of the Gundicha temple. Bravo! Bravissimo! Bhalo, bhalo! Sadhu, sadhu! Hari, hari! Chapter 13, the ecstatic dancing of the Lord at Ratha-yatra. The very famous chapter 13. With its parallel in the Srimad Bhagavatam at chapter 82, 10th canto. A summary, I found out from Jayadvaita Maharaj this morning that Prabhupada wrote all these chapter summaries. He wrote them himself. It's nice to know, right? Yeah. A summary of this chapter is given by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Amrita Pravaha Bhashya as follows. After bathing early in the morning, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw the deities Jagannath, Baladev and Subhadra get aboard their 3 cars. This function is called Pandu Vijay. At that time, King Prataparudra took a broom with a golden handle and began to cleanse the road. Lord Jagannath took permission from the goddess of fortune and then started in the car for the Gundicha temple. The road to the temple led along a broad sandy beach, and on both sides of the road were residential quarters, houses and gardens. Along that road, the servants called Godas began to pull the cars. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu divided his Sankirtan party into 7 divisions. With 2 mridungas in each division, there were altogether 14 mridungas. While performing kirtan, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exhibited various symptoms of transcendental ecstasy, and Jagannath and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exchanged their feelings very blissfully. When the cars reached the place known as Balagandi, the devotees offered the deities simple food. At this time, in a nearby garden, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his devotees took a brief rest from the dancing. May the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, who danced in front of the car of Sri Jagannath, be all glorified. By seeing his dancing, not only was the whole universe held in wonder, but Lord Jagannath himself became very much astonished. All glories to Sri Krishna Chaitanya and Prabhu Nityananda, all glories to Advaita Chandra, and all glories to the devotees of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All glories to the listeners of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Please hear the description of the dancing of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at the Ratha-yatra festival. His dancing is very enchanting. Please hear of it with great attention. The next day, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his personal associates got up in the dark and attentively took their early morning baths. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his personal associates then went to see the ceremony of Pandu Vijay. During this ceremony, Lord Jagannath leaves his throne and gets up onto the car. King Prataparudra in person, as well as his entourage, allowed the Pandu Vijay ceremony to be seen by all the associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his prominent devotees, Advaita Acharya, Nityananda Prabhu and others, were very happy to observe how Lord Jagannath began the Ratha-yatra. The very strongly built Daitas, carriers of the Jagannath deity, were as powerful as drunken elephants. They manually carried Lord Jagannath from the throne to the car. The word Daita refers to one who has received the mercy of the Lord. Lord Jagannath has a number of stalwart servants known as Daitas. These servants do not come from very high caste families, Brahmins, Kshatriyas, or Vaishyas, but because they are engaged in the service of the Lord, they have been elevated to a respected position. Thus they are known as Daitas. These servants of Lord Jagannath take care of the Lord from the day of the Snan Yatra up to the time the Lord is carried from the throne to the Rath car. In the Kshetra Mahatmya, these Daitas are said to come from the Shabaras, a caste that keeps and sells pigs. However, among the Daitas, there are also many who come from the Brahmana caste. Those Daitas coming from the Brahmana families are called Daitapatis, or leaders of the Daitas. The Dayitapatis offer food such as sweetmeats to Lord Jagannath during the Anavasara. The food such as the resting, Anavasara, the resting period after Snan Yatra. They also make the early morning offering of sweetmeats daily. It is said that during the Anavasara, Lord Jagannath suffers from fever and that the Dayitapatis offer him an infusion of drugs represented by fruit juice. It is said that in the beginning Lord Jagannath was worshipped by the Shabaras and was known as the deity Nilamadhava. Later, when the deity was established in the temple, the Lord became known as Jagannath. Because the deities were taken from the Shabaras, all the Shabara devotees were elevated to the position of Dayitas. While carrying the deity of Lord Jagannath, some of the Dayitas took hold of the shoulders of the Lord and some caught his lotus feet. The Lord Jagannath deity was bound at the waist by a strong thick rope made of silk. From two sides the Dayitas caught hold of this rope and raised the deity. Strong puffed up cotton pads called tulis were spread out from the throne to the car, and the heavy deity of Lord Jagannath was carried from one pillow-like pad to the next by the Dayitas. While the Dayitas carried the heavy Jagannath deity from one pad to the next, some of the pads broke, and the cotton contents floated into the air. When they broke, they made a heavy cracking sound. Lord Jagannath is the maintainer of the whole universe. Who can carry him from one place to another? The Lord moves by his personal will just to perform his pastimes. While the Lord was transported from the throne to the car, tumultuous sounds were made on various musical instruments. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was chanting, Manima, Manima, but he could not be heard. The word Manima is used to address a respectable person in Orissa. Lord Jagannath was being respectfully addressed by Sri Chaitanya in this way. While the Lord was being carried from the throne to the car, King Prataparudra personally engaged in the Lord's service by cleansing the road with a broom that had a golden handle. The king sprinkled the road with sandalwood-scented water. Although he was the owner of the royal throne, he engaged in menial service for the sake of Lord Jagannath. Although the king was the most exalted, respectable person, still he accepted menial service for the Lord. He therefore became a suitable candidate for receiving the Lord's mercy. Upon seeing the king engaged in such menial service, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became very happy. Simply by rendering this service, the king received the mercy of the Lord. Purport: unless one receives the mercy of the Lord, he cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead or engage in his devotional service. Atapite deva padam bhujadvaya prasada leshanugrihita evahi janati tattvam bhagavan mahimno nachanya eko picharam bachinban. A devotee who has received even a small fraction of the mercy of the Lord can understand him. Others may engage in theoretical speculation to understand the Lord, but they cannot know anything about him. Although Maharaj Prataparudra was very eager to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Lord refused to see him. But when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw the king engaged in menial service for Lord Jagannath, he became very happy. Thus the king became eligible to receive Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy. If a devotee accepts Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the universal guru and Lord Jagannath as the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, he is benefited by the combined mercy of Krishna and Guru. That is stated in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. That is stated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his instructions to Rupa Goswami. Brahmanda Brahmate Kon Bhagyavan Jeev Guru Krishna Prasadi Pai Bhakti Lata Bij. The seed of devotional service fructifies and becomes a transcendental creeper. Finally, it reaches the lotus feet of the Lord in the spiritual sky. This seed is obtained by the mercy of the Lord and the Guru. By the Lord's mercy, one gets the association of a bona fide Guru. And by the mercy of the Guru, one gets a chance to render devotional service. Devotional service, the science of bhakti yoga, carries one from this material world to the spiritual world. Everyone was astonished to see the decorations on the Rath car. The car appeared to be newly made of gold, and it was as high as Mount Sumeru. In the year 1973, there was a gorgeous Ratha-yatra festival in London, England, and the car was brought to Trafalgar Square. The London daily newspaper, The Guardian, published a front-page photo caption, "ISKCON Ratha-yatra is rival to the Nelson Column in Trafalgar Square." The Nelson Column is a very impressive statue of Lord Nelson and can be seen from a good distance, just as the residents of Puri compared the Ratha-yatra car to Mount Sumeru. The residents of London considered the car festival, the car rival to Nelson Monument. And what's his name? The Swami who does the... he told in the class in New York last year, Ratha-yatra, the story about how he joined. He was just a bhakta, and no one really cared for him until they found out he got an inheritance from his grandmother. And then they made him the chairman of the Ratha-yatra committee. And he spent the entire inheritance. It was like $65,000, which was a lot of money back then. And he spent the whole inheritance bit by bit on making it a grand festival, and Prabhupada noticed it. And he was just talking about how people come up to him, later and said, if you had invested that, how wealthy you'd be right now? And he said, I don't care. Prabhupada saw it, and he said this was beautiful. He said, so I pleased my spiritual master, that's all I care about. The decorations included bright mirrors and hundreds of chamras, white wisps made of yak tails. On top of the car were a neat and clean canopy and a very beautiful flag. The car was also decorated with silken cloth and various pictures. Many brass bells, gongs, and ankle bells rang. For the pastimes of the Ratha-yatra ceremony, Lord Jagannath got aboard one car, and his sister Subhadra and elder brother Balaram got aboard 2 other cars. For 15 days the Lord had remained in a secluded place with the Supreme Goddess of Fortune and had performed pastimes with her. Purport: the 15-day period of Anavasara is also called Nibrita, in honor of the solitary place where the Supreme Goddess of Fortune lives. After living there a fortnight, Lord Jagannath took permission from the Goddess of Fortune to leave. Having taken permission from the Goddess of Fortune, the Lord came out to ride on the Rath-yatra cart, the Rath cart, and perform his pastimes for the pleasure of the devotees. Purport: in this connection, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur comments that as an ideal husband, Lord Jagannath remained 15 days in a secluded place with his wife, the Supreme Goddess of Fortune. Nonetheless, the Lord wanted to come out of seclusion to give happiness to his devotees. The Lord enjoys himself in 2 ways, known as swakiya and parakiya. The Lord's conjugal love in the swakiya ras relates to the regulative principles observed in Dwarka, where the Lord has many married queens. But in Vrindavan, the conjugal love of the Lord is not with his married wives, but with his girlfriends, the gopis. Conjugal love with the gopis is called parakiya ras. Lord Jagannath leaves the secluded place where he enjoys the company of the Supreme Goddess of Fortune in swakiya ras, and he goes to Vrindavan where he enjoys the parakiya ras. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur therefore reminds us that the Lord's pleasure is parakiya ras, that the Lord's pleasure in parakiya ras is superior to his pleasure in swakiya. In the material world, parakiya ras, or loving affairs with unmarried girlfriends, is the most degraded relationship. But in the spiritual world, this type of loving affair is considered the supreme enjoyment. In the material world, everything is but a reflection of the spiritual world, and that reflection is perverted. We cannot understand the affairs of the spiritual world on the basis of our experience in the material world. The Lord's pastimes with the gopis are therefore misunderstood by mundane scholars and word wranglers. The parakya ras of the spiritual world should not be discussed except by one who is very advanced in pure devotional service. The parakya ras in the spiritual world and that in the material world are not comparable. The former is like gold and the latter is like iron. Because the difference between the two is so great, they cannot actually be compared. However, just as a knowledgeable person can easily distinguish gold from iron, one who has the proper realization can easily distinguish the transcendental activities of the spiritual world from material activities. The fine white sand spread all over the path resembled the bank of the Jamuna, and the small gardens on both sides looked just like those in Vrindavan. As Lord Jagannath rode in his car and saw the beauty on both sides, his mind was filled with pleasure. The pullers of the car were known as Gaudas, and they pulled with great pleasure. However, the car sometimes went very fast and sometimes very slow. Sometimes the car would stand still and not move, even though it was pulled very vigorously. The chariot therefore moved by the will of the Lord, not by the strength of any ordinary person. As the car stood still, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gathered all his devotees and, with his own hand, decorated them with flower garlands and sandalwood pulp. Paramananda Puri and Brahmananda Bharati were both personally given garlands and sandalwood pulp from the very hands of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This increased their transcendental pleasure. Similarly, when Advaitacharya and Nityananda Prabhu felt the touch of the transcendental hand of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they were very pleased. The Lord also gave garlands and sandalwood pulp to the performers of Sankirtan. The two chief performers were Sarup Damodar and Srivas Thakur. There were altogether 4 parties of kirtan performers, comprising 24 chanters. In each party there were also 2 mridanga players, making an additional 8 persons. When the 4 parties were formed, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, after some consideration, divided the chanters. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ordered Nityananda Prabhu, Advaita Acharya, Haridas Thakur and Virkeshwar Pandit to dance in each of the 4 respective parties. Sarup Damodar was chosen as the leader of the first party and was given 5 assistants to respond to his chanting. The 5 who responded to the singing of Sarup Damodar were Damodar Pandit, Narayan, Govinda Dato, Raghava Pandit, and Sri Govindanandana. Advaitacharya Prabhu was ordered to dance in the first group. The Lord then formed another group with Srivas Thakur as the chief band. In the first group, Damodar Sarup was appointed chief singer, and the responding singers were Damodar Pandit, Narayan, Govinda Datta, Raghava Pandit, and Govinda Nanda. Sri Advaitacharya was appointed as a dancer. The next group was formed, and the chief singer was Srivas Thakur. The 5 singers who responded to the singing of Srivas Thakur were Gangadas, Haridas, Sriman, Shubhananda, and Sri Ram Pandit. Sri Nityananda Prabhu was appointed as a dancer. Another group was formed consisting of Vasudeva, Gopinath, and Murari. All these were responsive singers, and Mukunda was the chief singer. Another 2 persons, Srikant and Vallabha joined as responsive singers. In this group, the senior Haridas Thakur, was the dancer. In the third group, Mukunda was appointed the chief singer. This party was composed of Vasudeva, Gopinath, Murari, Srikant, and Vallabha. The senior Haridas Thakur, was the dancer. The Lord formed another party, appointing Govinda Ghosh as leader. In this group, the younger Haridas, Vishnudas, and Raghava were the responding singers. 2 brothers named Madhava Ghosh and Vasudeva Ghosh also joined this group as responsive singers. Prakeshwar Pandit was the dancer. There was a Sankirtan party from the village known as Kulina Gram, and Ramananda and Satyaraj were appointed the dancers of this group. There was another party that came from Shantipur and was formed by Advaita Acharya. Achyutananda was the dancer, and the rest of the men were singers. Another party was formed from the people of Kanda. These people were singing in a different place. In that group, Narahari Prabhu and Raghunandana were dancing. 4 parties chanted and danced in front of Lord Jagannath, and on either side was another party. Yet another was at the rear. There were altogether 7 parties of Sankirtan, and in each party 2 men were beating drums. Thus 14 drums were being played at once. The sound was tumultuous, and all the devotees became mad. All the Vaishnavas came together like an assembly of clouds. As the devotees chanted the holy name in great ecstasy, tears fell from their eyes like rain. When the Sankirtan resounded, it filled the 3 worlds. Indeed, no one could hear any sounds or musical instruments other than the Sankirtan. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wandered through all 7 groups, chanting the holy names. Hare! Hare! Raising his arms, he shouted, "All glories to Lord Jagannath!" Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then exhibited another mystic power by performing pastimes simultaneously in all 7 groups. Everyone said, "Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is present in my group. Indeed, he does not go anywhere else. He is bestowing his mercy upon us." Actually, no one could see the inconceivable potency of the Lord. Only the most confidential devotees, those in pure unalloyed devotional service, could understand. Lord Jagannath was very much pleased by the Sankirtan, and he brought his car to a standstill just to see the performance. King Prataparuja was also astonished to see the Sankirtan. He became inactive and was converted to ecstatic love of Krishna. When the king informed Kashi Mishra of the glories of the Lord, Kashi Mishra replied, "O king, your fortune has no limit." The king and Sarva-bhūma Bhattacharya were both aware of the Lord's activities, but no one else could see the tricks of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Only a person who has received the mercy of the Lord can understand. Without the Lord's mercy, even the demigods headed by Lord Brahma cannot understand. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had been very satisfied to see the king accept the menial task of sweeping the street. And for this humility, the king received the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He could therefore observe the mystery of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's activities. Purport. The mystery of Lord Chaitanya's activities is described by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Lord Jagannath was astonished to see the transcendental dancing and chanting of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he stopped his car just to see the dancing. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then danced in such a mystical way that he pleased Lord Jagannath. The seer and the dancer were one and the same supreme person. But the Lord, being one and many at the same time, was exhibiting the variegatedness of his pastimes. This is the meaning behind his mysterious exhibition. By the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the king could understand how the 2 of them were enjoying each other's activities. Another mysterious exhibition was Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's simultaneous presence in 7 groups. By the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the king could understand that also. Although the king had been refused an interview, he was indirectly bestowed causeless mercy. Who can understand the internal potency of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? As Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was playing the part of a world teacher, he did not agree to see the king, because a king is a mundane person interested in money and women. Indeed, the very word king suggests one who is always surrounded by money and women. As a sannyasi, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was afraid of both money and women. The very word king is repugnant to one who is in the renounced order of life. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu refused to see the king, but indirectly, by the Lord's causeless mercy, the king was able to understand the Lord's mysterious activities. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's activities were exhibited sometimes to reveal him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead and sometimes to show him as a devotee. Both kinds of activities are mysterious and appreciated only by pure devotees. When the two great personalities, Sarva-bhūma Bhattacharya and Kashi Mishra, saw Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's causeless mercy upon the king, they were astonished. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu performed his pastimes for some time in this way. He personally sang and induced his personal associates to dance. According to his need, the Lord sometimes exhibited one form and sometimes many. This was being executed by his internal potency. Indeed, the personality of Godhead forgot himself in the course of his transcendental pastimes. But his internal potency, Leela Shakti, knowing the intentions of the Lord, made all arrangements. It is stated in the Upanishads, Parashya Shakti Vividai Vashuyate Sabhaviki Jnana Balakriyacha. The Supreme Lord has multi-potencies which act so perfectly that all consciousness, strength, and activities are being directed solely by the will, by his will. Purport. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exhibited his mystic power in presenting himself simultaneously in each and every Sankirtan group. Most people thought that he was one, but some saw that he was many. The internal devotees could understand that the Lord, although one, was exhibiting himself as many in the different Sankirtan groups. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced, he forgot himself and was simply absorbed in ecstatic bliss. But his internal potency arranged everything perfectly. This is the difference between the internal and external potency. In the material world, the external potency, material energy, can act only after one endeavors at great length. But when the Supreme Lord desires, everything is performed automatically by the internal potency. By his will, things happen so nicely and perfectly that they appear to be carried out automatically. Sometimes the activities of the internal potency are exhibited in the material world. In fact, all the activities of material nature are actually performed by the inconceivable energies of the Lord. But so-called scientists and students of material nature are unable to understand ultimately how things are happening. They evasively conclude that everything is being done by nature. But they do not know that behind nature is the potent Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Krishna explains this in Bhagavad Gita 9:10. Mayadhyakshena prakriti suyate satcharacharam hetunadena kaunteya jagad viparivartate. This material nature, which is one of my energies, is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, producing all moving and non-moving beings. Under its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. We'll take a few reflections and or commentos. Mahendra Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. An observation that can be put in the next quiz. How many times Lord Chaitanya applied personally with his hands sandalwood pulp and garlands? How many times it was mentioned in this and previous chapter? Before the cleaning of Gundicha, after that, and now before the Ratha-yatra started. It's just so wonderful to hear. Yes.
Just on what Mahendra Prabhu was saying, I was listening to a class while driving a couple of months ago by Gauranga Prabhu, and he was explaining that many years ago, when Radhanath Maharaj's yatras were much smaller, more like 800 devotees rather than 12,000, he personally arranged that each devotee that arrived would be received with sandalwood paste and garlands as they were arriving specifically at the Jagannath Puri Yatra. I was appreciating how we can extract these principles and make it a point to apply them, and how much it invigorates the atmosphere when we do.
Such a good point. Thank you. Gopal.
Hare Krishna. So Prabhu, I was really appreciating this section describing the kirtan as well as the beta kirtans in the last chapter, 2 chapters. I had asked some renowned kirtaniers, Krishna Kirtan Prabhu from Bangladesh and other kirtaniers, about where I could find the closest thing to Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan, and they all directed me to Orissa. And still till today, I've noted at Ratha-yatras that the organization is very similar to this description. And there's a group lead with a group response, and the structure, everybody's perfectly coordinated, the mridanga players, the cartels, it's mostly right on the beat. And it's very enlivening to see that culture has continued from the time of Mahaprabhu.
Wow, fantastic. Okay, outside People's Party. What do we have?
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Hare Krishna.
Actually, what Gopal Prabhu just said kind of leads to my query, because when there are 7 kirtan parties around the Rath cart, and I was just wondering, are they all singing in the same tune, in the same rhythm, or are they separate groups leading, different kirtans? Or how does it work? Like, because there's different dancers, different leaders, and they didn't have microphones and all of that. So were they all singing the same tune at the same time?
I can't answer that. I had the same question myself about the 7. You know?
So there's a group lead, and there's, as the lead is finishing, the responses kind of overlap. There's a slight overlap. It's been described something similar to the waves in the ocean, that the mantra is descending through the crowd, and as the last responder is chanting, the lead is already starting. A slight overlap. And I've noted that there's 5, as it's described, 4 or 5 people responding to the leader, and then that's amplified more for the rest to respond to.
So they're separate groups. Were they all singing the same
tune? One big group. So they're all very coordinated. The dancing, the mridanga playing, the cartels. Then in the center will be the lead. Actually, one time they came in Krishna Balaram temple and we passed them the mic, and they didn't know what to do with the microphone. They handed it back to us, and there's 4 or 5 people in the center leading all together. You could say following, as if you were leading a kirtan, then 4 or 5 of us were around you, following your tune, and then that goes to the outer circle of everyone else's response.
Maybe we should renounce microphones.
Yeah.
Because one year when we were here in this room, I remember Omkar was here that year, and there was a really loud kirtan going on next door at that ashram for days and days and days, and finally on a break we decided, Omkar and me decided to go over and look. Omkar and I. We decided to go over and look and see who it was. We thought there was probably like 200 people there with a big amplifier and stuff like that. And there was all these guys dressed up with a special costume, and none of them had a microphone. And they sang really high, but it was so loud you couldn't tell that it wasn't amplified. Did you have a point about that?
Yes, this question was actually asked to Srila Prabhupada by Mukunda Maharaj.
Wow.
In Miracle of 2nd Avenue. Can I read it?
Yeah.
There are very few of us staying at Tittenhurst, and the intimate atmosphere allowed us to ask Prabhupada lots of questions. One morning I went to where he was sitting and asked him about the way kirtans were performed historically. How did Lord Chaitanya do kirtan in the 16th century, I asked, my breath making small clouds as I spoke. What did the chanting partings look like in those days? Yes, he paused, smiling like he was very pleased with my question. He leaned forward as though he was revealing something very private. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami writes of this in his Chaitanya Charitamrita. There were 2 mridanga players, 2 dancers, and 7 kartals. Other people would join, but the main ones, the mridangas, kartalsmen, and the dancers were the center. He spoke quietly as if telling me a secret. The mridanga players, they would inspire the dancers, he continued. And the dancers, they would inspire mridangas. One person would lead, and the rest would respond. Like we do here in the temple, lead and respond, he paused. In this way, they created ecstatic feelings by chanting the holy names very expertly. When leader chanted, drums and cymbals would play quiet so everyone could hear. Then, when everyone sang, drums and kartals played loud. And when leader sang again, they would play soft again. So soft and loud. They would go on in that way and repeat.
Thank you. How did you find that? You just knew it was there?
I read it many years ago when I read Miracle on 2nd Avenue, and it really struck me. So I just made it a point to highlight it at that time, and I always find myself going back to it.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Stuff we don't know. I didn't know, I mean. Did it answer your question?
Yes.
Satisfied? Okay. Who else in the outside people's party? Yes? Who is that?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Yadutama Das.
Hare Krishna Yadutama.
I want to thank Madhya for that question because I was thinking the exact same thing actually. So thank you. But I was really struck by this this purport from verse 60, where Prabhupada was sharing how what Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur shared. That Jagannath was astonished to see the transcendental dancing and chanting of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and it's really interesting to get this really intimate kind of view of the relationship between Jagannath and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that even if we were just reading the verses, we wouldn't have gotten this little glimpse into it. And it kind of struck me as very similar to when Krishna saw his reflection, I believe, in Dwarka, and became astonished at his own beauty. And I was just really feeling blessed to have Srila Prabhupada's association and through him association of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and these purports. It's just so nice getting these little glimpses, really very enlivening.
Nicely put, Yadutama. Thank you very much for your insight. And then there's one all the way at the back. It looks like Lord Chaitanya.
Hare Krishna. Patridas, your servant.
Oh, no wonder it looked like Lord Chaitanya.
Actually, I was just contemplating Mahavishnu Swami Maharaj, who donated that inheritance for Ratha-yatra completely. And he said, I don't care, it's to please Srila Prabhupada, that's my business. And then some time ago we were sitting together with him, and he told me, you know what, if I'll leave this world and I'll see Prabhupada, what am I going to tell him? I have done nothing for him. So I want to go somewhere where nobody did any Sankirtan. And I will go to Africa. And he went to Uganda. And he said, I want to preach somewhere nobody preached yet. And still he has that mood. He's already 84 and still dancing in Sankirtan for 6 hours every day. I was thinking that was fair investment. And Srila Prabhupada blessed him with that energy to dance till date. But and he has big Jagannath on his head. Very difficult to recognize. Vaishnava Rakriya Mudra Vijnana Bujai. But actually he is definitely always giving everything.
Hare, Hare. Okay, there's Nitya Tarangani, and was the one all the way in the back?
Yeah, we have two at the back, Nagar Chandra Prabhu and one.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. It is mentioned there that if a devotee accepts Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as universal Guru and Lord Jagannath as Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is benefited by combined mercy of Krishna and Guru. So we usually don't think about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu so much as universal Guru. We think about him more as Supreme Personality of Godhead. So how do we...
Well, Lord Chaitanya is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, no doubt, but he specifically came as a devotee and an acharya just to show us exactly how to do it. So he's the perfect example of that we can follow. To see what does a Vaishnava Acharya Guru look like, and that's Lord Chaitanya. So he's the Lord playing the part of a devotee.
Hare Krishna, Guru
Hare
Maharaj.
Krishna.
This is
and that one sentence I love actually. And we had some programs down in Laguna Beach, and we made a little bhajan book to take down there for the program. That was the headliner that we took out of the Madhya Lila. One who accepts Lord Chaitanya as the universal Guru and Lord Chaitanya as the Supreme Person. Then you have Guru and Krishna. Please go ahead. Sorry.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. I'm wondering, similarly, you brought this up the other day about how along a lot of the traditional mridanga tals have been not so much held to the present day. I'm wondering in the same way how Lord Chaitanya appointed these dancers and how maybe they had choreography.
That's for you to find out. You're the PhD in dance. Do a little research, see if you can find out. That's a new service project for you.
Yes, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, is there one more? There's a couple more.
Hare Krishna. This is Kameshri. I had one reflection.
Is that Kameshri?
Yes.
Okay.
I had one reflection about when Lord Chaitanya was going around the several groups of kirtan simultaneously. It reminded me in the Krishna book also, when Krishna had the rasa dance with the gopis, there were so many, I guess, group of gopis dancing, and they each thought Krishna was with them only, and they thought Krishna was with them alone, like no one else had him, but actually he was sharing his potency amongst them equally.
Nice parallel, Kameshri. Well done. Bhalo. Okay, who's next?
Hare Krishna. I just had a question. Sorry, I just had a question relating to the previous chapter. This point was made about association when Nitai and Advaita were arguing, and it reminded me. Recently, I had a devotee who was diagnosed with cancer and told by their Guru Maharaj to chant more rounds. And when they told other devotees, some devotees scoffed and thought it was not a good idea. So it made me wonder if you could comment on the topic of association. What does association really mean, even in devotee circles?
Now let me get this straight. Somebody who had cancer?
A devotee I knew. I know.
A devotee you knew had cancer, and then what?
They were told by their Guru Maharaj to increase to 64 rounds.
To chant 64 rounds, okay.
And when telling other devotees, other devotees
Who
didn't have
told
such
other devotees?
This devotee, not me.
The one who was given the instruction
Yes.
to chant 64 rounds, and he went around and he told a few people that my Guru Maharaj told me I'd chant 64. He told a few friends, and then what happened?
And they scoffed.
They scoffed.
This is their words, not mine.
Okay.
Scoffed and felt it wasn't a good idea and kind of brushed it away, and weren't so encouraging of the idea of increasing sadhana, and that didn't seem right to me. So I was asking about association. What does association really mean, even amongst devotees?
Mm-hmm. Well, we look for like-minded. That's one of the recommendations by Lord Chaitanya. When he talks about association, he says, try to find people who are like-minded. And try to find people who are like-minded and more advanced than yourself. That's ideal. So people do have different ideas. There are different standards and so forth. And So, as Prabhupada mentions in the Nectar of Devotion, sometimes one guru will give a detail that's slightly different from another guru, although the principles are all maintained, the details may be different. So, somebody who's mature-ish might know that and not scoff. I mean, I can't really comment too much because I don't know why they scoffed. Do you? It would be good to know too, because it's hard to say. But in any case, real association means people who share a similar enthusiasm for advancing in devotional service. Ideal association means those who are not optimistic about the material world, but they are optimistic about the spiritual world. There's a lot more that we could say about that, but I'll leave it at that for now. Thank you very much for the question. It's important. Achintya Chaitanya Prabhu.
Since that topic of 64 rounds came up, Jayapatak Maharaj once says that he relates that he was in Albert Road and he was chanting around 10 o'clock or so, and Prabhupada came out and he saw him chanting. So he asked him, "What are you doing?" So he said, "I'm chanting 64 rounds. So he said, "If you're going to chant 64 rounds, who's going to do the service?" You know? That's one incident. But there is also another incident where Banabhatta Prabhu, I think it was last year, Srila Prabhupada's disappearance day, or I don't recollect when, but recently he mentioned this pastime that he was in Mayapur during the 70s and he was put in charge of organizing the festival, the Mayapur festival, where Prabhupada and all the devotees would come, and he hardly had anybody to help him. So he was really overworked and they would work the whole day and nobody really to help him. So whoever would arrive visiting devotees, he would try to get them to do some service. Then he said there was one Prabhupada disciple who came, who refused to do any service. He would go sit in the field, near the Gurukul area, and just chant the whole day. So after some time he got frustrated and he told him, "Can you just do at least 1 hour of service? Please help me." He refused. So then he went to Prabhupada's room, and with great frustration he said to Prabhupada that, "Look at this, Prabhupada, I'm really struggling, and I'm just trying to get this devotee to do at least 1 hour of service. He's not agreeing even to that." To which Prabhupada looked at him and firmly said, "Do you think that chanting is not service?" So Prabhupada he said both things depending on the people.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. I remember that. Bana said that last year. Mukaravind and then Mahendra.
Maharaj, in one of the purport that about the diplomatic ministers in the purport, and Prabhupada quotes that how the acharyas, they know how to deal with the people. I remember that once in ISV, Radhikaraman Prabhu came and he explained how Jiva Goswami so expertly managed all the temples of the Vrindavan. That's why we still have the temples, still though it went to the Mughal Empire and everything. He used his skill, practical skills, to make sure that this temples remains of all his uncles and uncles. So that's why I was thinking that how he used his service.
Excellent example. Thank you. Perfect. Mahendra Prabhu.
Yeah, on that pastimes, Banabhatta Prabhu said Prabhupada, he explained the story like very dramatically how it was. Prabhupada made his pause and said, "It's. Do you think it's not a service? It's the greatest service." And then you got the point. But there are many letters which show that Prabhupada was not against. We could say it's against circumstantial according to individuals, but in many places he says that's 64 ounces fine. I remember to one Mataji, forgot her name, but not more. And to Upendra I remember letter he was writing, I think I want to chant 64 ounces now. Prabhupada, very good, this is our program. And then next letter, a few months, he says, I think I want to get married. That's very nice. Go and open a center. And it's so, yeah, that's, Prabhupada was not against, but we have to see all sides and according to the circumstance. And I just had one question also from the previous chapter about the term kuṭīnāṭī, and Prabhupada translates it there in the chapter where it's mentioned also in the verse as either diplomacy or hypocrisy, rather duplicity or fault finding. So it has two meanings, so that these two are related in some way.
What's the first meaning you said?
Duplicity. Or it's sometimes translated as crooked intelligence, kuṭīnāṭī. The six major upashaka, 6 weeds, major weeds that suffocate.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, just the sound of it, kuṭīnāṭī, doesn't sound good. You don't want that. What do you got? Kuṭīnāṭī. Crooked intelligence. Well, yeah, it doesn't. It's just kind of a default mode in the material world. Icchā-dveṣa-samutthena, dvandva-mohena bhārata, sarva-bhūtāni sammohaṁ, sarge, yānti, paran-tapa. It's people are icchā-dveṣa. They don't even know they're doing it. They're impelled by their previous associations to abhor some things and to support other things, and they're practically blindly doing it because of the force of material nature. And to take that stance of criticizing as one's main platform in life, because there's the thesis, the antithesis, and then the synthesis. And instead of coming to the synthesis, many people take the antithesis because it gives them a platform to distinguish themselves from others. Those who haven't made a lot of spiritual advancement need some place to get a platform. So they take the antithesis and they become the outspoken people who are bold enough, the bulldogs, to criticize everybody and call a spade because somebody's got to do it. And they stay in that because they get some accolades, like, way to go, somebody's got to do this. But it becomes a preoccupation for them just to find fault with everybody instead of looking for solutions or showing by example how to do it better, which is one thing Prabhupada regularly told people who had criticisms for others. He would say, why don't you show a better way? Just show it. And then you don't have to criticize the other one so much. Now, it's not to say that constructive criticism isn't helpful. It's very necessary. We have to find where we're lacking and try to fix it. But I think the mentality that is there, the crooked idea that I'll take this as my banner in life, that really distracts one from the process of chanting, takes one away from trinadapi sunichena. And who knows, you could take birth as a kind of Yamaraj character in your next life. Just want to be the one who punishes everybody or something like that. So we'll take a break and we'll come back here at 20 minutes after. Hare Krishna.